Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Tea Time with me, Darius and Anucauskas. Today's the 3rd of October 2019, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this Thursday's afternoon session where we're going to have a quick look at the markets, a few of the charts, the usual stuff. But before we do that, as always, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest, and we can continue. Okay, also just a quick mentioning of our JFD YouTube channel here, to which you can always subscribe to in order not to miss any of our upcoming videos, and of course our JFD Bank website, and specifically our JFD research page, which you can always check out on a daily basis as well. So yep, I believe you can find a lot of useful stuff here. So, but for now, guys, let's jump into the charts. Now, I will probably call this my chart of the week because I keep referring to this one every day this week. So, the FTSE 100. Now, this has been some sort of a spectacular move here. So basically, we're having this week a fantastic sell-off. So after kind of after traveling last week above the 7,380 zone, it struggled to push above the 7,440, and from there it kind of started sliding. It started selling off, and you can see that this morning I was talking about this one, and we were hanging around the 7,100 level, maybe just slightly below that, and you can see that the index continued to drift lower. I was talking about these two levels here, the 7,044, 45 area, and the slightly lower below that, the 7,020 area. So the last one is marks the lowest point of August of this year. So basically, we saw this one traveling lower. It tested the S1, overshot it a little bit here. It tested this 7,035 territory, and it kind of reversed back to the upside a little bit. I mean, we can see that the bulls are really fighting hard to keep this one alive. Of course, it will be quite interesting to see if actually they manage to get this one at least back up here a little bit, maybe back towards the 7,131 zone, maybe just for a slight correction. But of course, don't get me wrong, it is quite tricky at the moment because it is one-way traffic, and we are near this key area of support. And let me just probably quickly put this, well, should I say, recycle this highlighted area. And of course, this is the territory that we're going to be keeping a close eye on, because if it continues to slide, well, I mean, if it continues to slide below the 7,020 zone, then it's not looking good, because we will be testing, of course, the 7,000 level. But if that fails to hold, now this is where it could become even uglier for the index in the near term, and or even in the medium term, as we could see this one drifting further down towards the levels of January, maybe somewhere around here, or maybe the beginning of February as well. But the end of January figures levels, those could be met. So we would be entering the territory of the 6,000s now. So again, like I said, guys, for now, of course, we did have a strong slide here. Don't get me wrong, we're at a very key area of support. Let's see how this is going to play out, especially have a look at the cash index, how the US markets are going to drive this one, and where we could open up tomorrow morning. So for now, this is not looking good, but again, we're going to be very careful now, because we are near the key area of support here, in between the 7,020 and the 7,045 levels. So keep your eyes on that one. For us, let's say, to consider the maybe some sort of upside here, well, ideally we would like to see a push back above the 7,200 level, but it seems that for now it could be slightly off the table. Dow Jones Industrial Average. Now this one closed in the red as well yesterday, and I talked about this index yesterday in my traders tea time, and basically what I was saying that if we see a further slide below the 26,413, then yes, we could see this one reaching the area near the psychological 26,000 level. Of course, we did overshoot it a little bit, but quickly got back above it and closed the day above that psychological level, and also closed above this other level that I talked about, the 26,040 zone. So we also closed above that one. So, but looking at the cash index right now, we are kind of balancing at the same area here. It is very tricky because on the one hand, on the shorter time frame, we are quite overstretched to the downside. But again, we have seen these before where it's one-way traffic for the whole week, and we could see this one drifting even further down towards maybe the 25,523 area, something like that, around here, or maybe slightly below that, the 25,340 zone. That's basically the lowest point of August. So keep your eyes on this one, guys. For now, probably the only thing you can do is if we start seeing breaks below the yesterday's lows near the, let's say, the 25,975 zone, then, well, I mean, this could turn out to be ugly for this index and we could see further declines. And let me just actually quickly mark this one just for ourselves. So that's going to be the level that we're going to be keeping a close eye on. And if we see a drop below this, then yep, further declines could be possible. But of course, if this suddenly, let's say, travels back, somehow travels back above the 26,415 territory here and above this 200 EMA on the 4-hour chart, then yep, we could consider possible move back up here towards the 26,720 zone. But of course, with the upside here, it could be a little bit trickier because in a way we could draw this, but don't probably focus on this too much. But this little tentative kind of downside line here, taken from the high of the 12th of September. So for now, guys, again, it's very tricky. Again, this is the breakout level for us to kind of start considering higher levels, the 27,040 territory. But in the short run, in the very short run, if this suddenly gets back above the 26,415, then maybe there could be a chance for this one to recover back up here. But let's, again, for now, this is looking more bearish than bullish. We'll see how this is going to play out. Let me just put this highlighted area here a little bit. And yes, guys, for now, these are the two levels to watch, probably for today at least. And let's see how this is going to play out. But we are more bearish than bullish, especially if it drops below the 25,975 zone. Gold. Gold is stuck at the psychological 15 zone, 1500 zone. So of course, this week when I was talking about this one, and let me just remind myself, that was on yeah, actually yesterday in my traders, yesterday in my traders espresso, I talked about gold, and basically we were still hanging around here. We were hanging around below the 1484 zone. I said that if we get a push above this, then yep, we will consider possible move higher, at least towards the 1500 level, or the next potential target for us could be around here, the 1512. But as you can see, it got held near the 1505, roughly around there, and now it retraced a little bit lower, but is struggling to close at least a 4-hour candle below the 200 EMA on the 4-hour chart. So what it's forming now, and you probably do understand now by looking at this, it is forming something of a bullish flag here. So these, of course, tend to break to the upside. But for now, before acting on this, we need a confirmation break, and the confirmation break would come here on the 1505. If we get a push above this, this would confirm a forthcoming higher high, and we could target the 1512, or even we could go towards this downside resistance line taken from the high of the 4th of September. Until then, we are going to be very careful here, because in a way, what it could do also, and we've seen this happening many times, where it could slide a little bit lower, maybe test one of the levels somewhere around here, and then rebound and push it back to the upside. So this way we could take out a few of the people who are long right now straight away, and then we could see this one reversing and pushing back to the upside. So that's why for now, guys, keep your eyes on this 1505. That's the breakout for the upside. For the downside, what you could look at here is this 1484 again, because previously it acted as a fantastic area of resistance, or should I say yesterday. Now it could take the role of support, as it did back here on the 10th of September, and also around the 18th of September as well. So if we see another drop below the 1484, then yep, we will aim for a little bit lower levels here, but even we could aim for the 1456 zone or even slightly lower. But again, for now, that's these are just the obstacles to keep an eye on. For now, the more important thing is that will this actually continue as a flag formation and push higher, for which we need to wait for a break of the 1505, or is this going to drop lower? And if we see a drop lower, then in order for us to get comfortable with slightly lower levels, a drop below the 1484 is required. So keep your eyes on this one. USDJPY, I talked about this one this morning as well, and basically, I was telling you to keep an eye on the range here, this wider range between the roughly between the 106.93 and the 108.48. We did have an overshoot here. We did have a break, but as you can see, the bulls are really fighting strong and trying to lift this one back above it, and they've managed to succeed. The only thing is, don't get me wrong, we still have the full US session to go through, so we could get some sort of headlines coming out from there. By the way, we of course one of the data to watch out for today is going to be the US services PMI, which are coming out in about 18 to 17 minutes, something like that. So keep your eyes on that. Also, we have the ISM non-manufacturing PMI, so it could be a market mover here, but keep your eyes for now, guys. Keep your eyes on the US trading session, because again, even though yes, the bulls are pushing this one back up here above the 106.93 zone, again back above this lower side of the range, still the day's not finished, and we could still see the slide and the drop lower. And if we see a close below this, then yep, further declines are possible. We'll aim for the 106.57 or even the 106.32 zone. But if it stays above this, we see a daily close above this, then there is a good chance we could see maybe a small rebound here, maybe a push back towards the 200 EMA on the 4-hour chart, or even this 107.62. But in order to get comfortable with higher levels, a push above the 107.62 level would be needed. AUDCAD, I've looked at this one this morning as well. I just wanted to show you a quick update. So what I was talking about basically during the Traders Espresso, we were still trading around here, around this 50 EMA on the as shown as the red line and here on this chart. But what I was saying, that we may see maybe a small correction here, but the correction never happened. It just continues to travel higher. It's breaking this tentative downside resistance line taken from the high of the 13th of September. Of course, this is looking quite bullish right now, but the only thing is what I've also mentioned, that we need to see a nice good push above this level here, the 0.8975, 76 territory, before we could examine higher levels. For now, you can see that it almost managed to reach that, but again, we need to see a break, and ideally we would like to see a daily close above this, but again, for now, let's keep it like this. For now, it's even too early, because don't get me wrong, at one point we are quite overstretched here to the upside. There is a need for possible correction, so we're kind of waiting for that correction to happen, and then we'll see how it performs. But first, of course, we'll keep an eye on this barrier here, the 0.8975. Because if that gets broken, this could yet lead towards higher levels. In terms of the downside, well, I mean, this one is becoming a very tricky in terms of the downside, but what we could do here is, if we see a drop below the below this downside line again, and we see a drop below the 0.8923's territory, then we could aim for further declines here. So but for now, again, like I said, it's quite at an interesting spot. Let's see how this is going to play out with one of these levels. GBPUSD had a nice pop. I've looked at this one this morning as well, and we were still hanging around below this downside line. But what I was saying that in order for us to get comfortable with further higher levels, ideally we need to see a break above this 1.2346, 45 territory. We did have that. We saw the pair traveling higher, but kind of didn't quite reach our target near the 1.2411 here. So this is the level we're still keeping in mind. So in a way, if we see a daily close today below, above the 1.2346, then there's a good chance we could see a continuation move to the upside, where we could test the 1.2411, or even we could see this one traveling further north. But again, because this pair is very heavily Brexit news headline driven, that's why be very careful here, guys. Yes, the technicals might be working for now, but if as some sort of a headline comes out, kind of a heavy headline, I would call it, comes out, then yes, this affects the pound dollar pair straight away. So that's why today, of course, we are having some positive feedback from, or let's say positive headlines coming out from the whole Brexit saga. But that's for now. Of course, we've seen this many times happening. Yes, the pound then rises, but then the next day, let's say, or the headline comes out, and then it's a disappointing one, and we see the move to the opposite direction. So that's why, guys, for this one, be very careful. Have your stop loss in place. For now, technically, it is making a nice move higher here. We already tested the R2. We're declining a little bit, retracing a little bit, but to be honest, let's see if the bulls have enough steam to drive this one towards our next target near the 1.2411. Because if we see a push above towards that level, we'll take it from there, see what he wants to do. Maybe it'll get a hold up around here and then correct back to the downside. Because don't forget that we're also now forming this kind of tentative, a bit of tentative upside support line, very short-term one. This is like taken from the low of this week, and that's why for now, yes, it is moving higher, but can it move towards the 1.2411? That's our target. For now, we're going to be very cautious. We're going to see how this is going to perform. If it continues to trade above the 1.2346, then at least there's some good news, good good atmosphere around here on GBPUSD, and there could be a possibility to move higher. If this suddenly starts dropping back below this this tentative short-term upside line and drops below the downside line as well here, then yep, this is where we'll start looking at further declines, especially if it drops below the 1.2203 zone here. So this way, if we see a slide below this, then the pair would confirm a forthcoming lower low, and we could see this one drifting towards much lower areas. And the last last pair for this session, euro dollar. So I looked at this one this morning as well. Basically a quick update. So what I was talking about was that we need to see a nice good push above the 1.0964 level before we could consider higher levels. Now you can see that we already twice had these two false breakouts. Again, this is becoming quite interesting because, to be honest, ideally we would like to see a nice close, maybe. At least if we get a nice 4-hour close above this 1.0964, then this could increase the chances for a further move higher. But as you can see, for now, this level here, the 1.0964, kind of is holding the rate down. So that's why for now we're going to be very careful here. Again, we're still waiting for that nice confirmation break, another break. If we do get another break, then yes, we will aim for higher levels, but only up until this downside resistance line taken from the high of June. In terms of the downside, we'll start considering lower levels. If now we see a drop below the 1.0943 territory, but just will even better if we get a nice drop below the 1.0924 zone. Now I know that it has been violated a few times, but in a way for now it kind of still works, because whenever we have a drop below this, it drifts lower. it continues to push to the downside, so that's why, guys, we'll keep an eye on this 1.0924 zone. If we see a slide below this, of course we'll have a tight stop loss in place, and we'll target lower territories. But also, just for that extra confirmation, a drop below the 1.0904 territory could do the trick here for more sellers, for more bears, and we could see this one drifting to the downside. So keep your eyes on that. But for now, the main thing is keep your eyes on the 1.0964 territory. Let's see how this is going to play out. Okay, guys, I really hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for sticking around and watching it till the end. If you want to join me tomorrow morning, as always, at my Traders Espresso, that's 6 o'clock GMT time. We'll have a look at some of these instruments, some new ones as well. We'll see how that's going to play out. But of course, tomorrow is a big day, NFPs, the US NFPs, and a bunch of other data, important data. So could be an interesting day tomorrow. But like I said, for now, thank you very much for sticking around and watching until the end. And I hope you have a fantastic evening, guys. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.